Hey folks, I'm here with a short video today showing you how to get a perfect final cut with your Logosol mill. This will produce no waste on your last couple of boards. It's a really simple system, but stick around to the end of the video as I'll show you a couple of refinements that make the system even better and will help you avoid inaccuracies in your cuts. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy. So I've had my new Logosol mill out here for about a day and a half now. Much of that's been spent just kind of setting up these bunks, getting all the logs moved. But I've gotten some cutting in, cut a lot of stickers, so I should have enough now, hopefully, to finish the project, and cut some bevel boards and a few 1-inch, a few 2-inch boards. And so my first couple of logs, I was struggling here to get a 1-inch. I'm trying to cut 1-inch boards today, and you know, I'd be left with a board that's 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches. And so, yeah, needed a little bit more thought, and I think I've come up with a pretty good method of that. And basically, you just need your last board to be 2.25 inches thick. And so then you'll take a 1/4 inch kerf out of that, and you'll be left with 2 1-inch boards. And so it just occurred to me that obviously you need to start thinking about your last cut when you make your first cut with this system. So I've just written those numbers down. They will be the same every single time if you're making 1-inch cuts. So I've just labeled this 1-inch scale, wrote it on the side of my mill. So my last cut, I want it to be on a 2.25 inch thick board. So the previous cut will be 3.5 inches, 4 3/4, 6, and on down the way. And you could do this if you're cutting 2-inch boards, then it'd be the same thing. You'd start with 4 1/4, and then you'd go to 6.5 and 8 3/4, and so on. So I've done one log with this method, worked perfectly, and then so that convinced me to write the scale on the side. And yeah, I think that's a good method and makes it really nice and simple. So there you go. Maybe somebody's already thought of that, but worked well for me. I thought it was pretty cool. So to see this in action, we'll take a measurement. Let's get our saw out of the way. Take a measurement on this log. I'd be cutting somewhere in around sort of the 10.5 to 11.5 inch range. But then I would just go back over to my scale and see what fits in closest to somewhere in the 10.5 to 11.5 inch range, and that would be 11 inches. So I would just set my log lifter here up to 11 inches. Same thing here on the other end of the log. Just set her to 11 inches, and away we go. So I'll just keep working my way down here with 1-inch cuts, and I will be left, should be left, with a 2.25 inch final board, and I'll be able to cut that in half, leaving exactly 2 1-inch boards after the kerf. So there you have it, using that system net to 2 1-inch boards at the end of your cut. Okay, beating a dead horse now maybe, but once more in case you like a few examples. So I'm thinking about, I'm going to cut 1-inch boards off this guy. I know I want to leave 2.25 there at the end to have a perfect final cut. So I'll take a look here. And I'm sort of, by the time I cut off the top slab, somewhere around 12 inches. Looks ideal. So I just head over here. So I'll just take a look on my chart here, 12.25, it's very close to that. So I'll set it to 12.25 for my first cut, and that's gonna get me right onto this scale, moving up the scale, and finish with that perfect cut again. So a nice and simple system. So there we go. We're set up for another perfect end cut or final cut on this guy. It doesn't matter where you start, anywhere along the scale. If you pick any one of those numbers, you're just going to work your way smaller and smaller, and you should end at 2 1/4, which is what I've got. 5 clicks to create a 1-inch board, and that puts us with an inch underneath the chain as well. So I'll have an inch above and an inch below, and don't end up with a funny final cut. Same thing over here. I'll take the leading dog out, and I'll put that one in after. And this is a good example, another little tip I've just discovered as I'm working here in terms of making that perfect final cut. When you're doing 1-inch boards in particular, when you need to get really low, you can see I still have some wane on the bottom of this log, and it's about 2 inches high, the wane here right at the vertical post. And so once I get up really high up here on the post when I'm trying to make my final cut, the pull of the chainsaw is going to want to jump it up the post. So you don't want to have wane right there on your final cut. It's going to be just a simple matter of just flipping my log here. And that's not going to change any of the math or the scale that I was working with there. I've just flipped it over, working from the top down now. And that way I'll get rid of the wane when I still have lots of wood and the log is really stable. And that'll leave me with a nice square edge when I'm down into that final, when I'm on just a 2 1/4 inch board and trying to cut it in half. And so, yeah, just something I picked up on the last log. And the last tip for a perfect final cut is really only necessary if you're cutting 1-inch or thinner boards. You simply add a supporting piece of wood under your board, and that'll ensure it doesn't sag in the middle. So there we go, nice and consistent, not just at the ends, but full length of the boards here. I don't know if you got that, but trust me.
We trust you.
Thanks, honey.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure that you like, make sure you leave a comment, and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget the little bell on the top to make sure that you get any notifications if we've got a new video coming up. We don't put them out too often, but when you do, don't miss it. Thank you so much.